Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Letting everyone join. I see people starting to funnel in here, so I'll give it a moment and then we'll kick this thing off.
Ben, it's not morning for everyone. I just wanted
I
to
was
say
just
that.
gonna
Not for
say
me.
good morning, good good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever in the world you are, I hope you're having a good one. That's what I'll say.
Apologies, Ali. Apologies to Ali.
Thanks.
All right, y'all, we're gonna kick this thing off. So I appreciate everyone joining here, wherever you are in the world and whatever time of day it is. This is I'm Ben Yurcisin, CEO and founder of Intu Global, and this is our second webinar. Today we're gonna be talking about building lean teams, fractional talent, AI agents, and smarter hiring. Very exciting. So, in a nutshell, what Intu Global does is we focus on AI startup founders and SMB owners, and we figure out how we can help them grow in this new age of AI. So there's a lot of technology, a lot of things are changing at a rapid rate. So people are wondering, how do we grow? What's the best approach to move from here? And when I say grow, I mean get more deals, fundraise, or things like recruiting and actually building your team. So today the focus is going to be about how companies can grow their teams, and that's a mix of humans, and that's a mix of AI agents and fractionals. So it's a very exciting topic. We have an awesome panel here today. And we're going to be doing monthly webinars. So make sure you join the network, be part of it. We also offer fractional sales and marketing for those who are looking to grow themselves. So if you need help with any of these things, reach out to me and we'll be happy to do so. So we have a very exciting program today. I would like to start by thanking our sponsor for this session, IntroStars. So if you're not already on IntroStars, get on introstars.com. And I know Mike Adams, the founder, is in the audience. So if you want, you can drop a link there. So basically what this does, it's a referral platform to help salespeople and founders get more deal flow. And it helps super connectors to monetize their network and earn commissions on referrals. So it's a really cool platform. They just dropped version 4.0, which actually makes it super easy to tell you who in your network is relevant to match with listings on the platform. And just with a few clicks, you could be making introductions and earning commissions. So join IntroStars. Thanks to IntroStars for being our sponsor. With that said, I want to jump into the program here. And we're going to kick off before we get in this panel. We want Intu Global co-founder and creator Frank Casale is going to say a few words about the subject at hand. And I want to pass it over to Frank to share a few words. So appreciate the panel for being here. Appreciate Frank. And we're going to make the spotlight on him.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Oh, look at that spotlight. So, hey, congratulations, Ben. Good job. Off to a good start with the second webinar. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Many of those out there, friends of mine and colleagues, know me as a guy that's been in the AI and automation space for many years. However, prior to that, I spent many years in the recruiting and staffing space. So I know the importance of recruiting, the importance of talent, the importance of team. I also know I'm quite aware of the challenges that have been historically obstacles for founders. If you think about it, most people think that founders struggle in many ways, looking to find money, looking to find customers. I have found one of the biggest challenges, maybe number one, is just building a team. You need talent, you need people, you need expertise to do all that you need to do. You got to build a product, you need people. You got to raise money, you need people. You need marketing, you need sales, you need people. And if you go back for hundreds of years, the difference between small companies and big companies, where big companies had lots of people, and the startups had one or two or three and a half people, and many many had never made it beyond that. So why is that a challenge? People are expensive and they're scarce. Um, the good news now is it's a great time to be a founder. It's a great time to be a small and rapidly growing company because you have more options than ever before beyond just a full-time hire, which we will discuss here. We have experts in the full range of options, but you could go full-time, you can go part-time, you can go fractional, you can go onshore, offshore, you can go digital. The biggest challenge I think out there right now for most founders is just that they're not aware of all these options and they're still stuck in the traditional mindset, which is unfortunate. Our goal here today, with the help of my esteemed colleagues, is to help you get unstuck, hopefully give you an idea or two that you haven't thought about, or maybe there's someone here on this panel like Jeff or Taj or Ali that can help you. Last thing I want to mention is if you've ever raised money, you know that the majority of that money goes to people if you go about it the old-fashioned way. Um, easily, easily 80% of any fundraise, make up a number. Pre-seed round, 2 million bucks. 80% of that money, $1.6 million plus or minus, is going to go for people and for technology. Uh, Today, uh, you barely need a fraction of that money for either or. The technology discussion is for another time. Maybe Ben will tee that up for another discussion. But I'm a big believer in what I call the race to zero, and meaning things that are becoming less and less expensive. So we're going to talk today about options. If you're looking to grow your business, listen up. We have some cool things. And if you want to follow up with myself or anyone else here after this session, we'll be here. If you never want to speak to us again after this session, we know we did a really bad job, and it's Ben's fault. I'll pass it back to you,
It's because I
Ben.
said good. It's because I said good morning. All right. Well, with that said, I want to say one more thing, which is just that, as we're having this discussion, I encourage the audience to drop in the chat, share your thoughts, drop questions for the panel, because we want this to be interactive and fun for everyone. So, with that, I would like to welcome our awesome panelists here. I want to kind of do a little round robin, a quick introduction of each of the panelists to share, what they're working on, how it kind of ties to this theme, and then we'll jump into some questions. So, with that, I'll start with Taj and then work our way around.
Sure. I'm Taj. I'm currently in Canada, Ontario. I've been working in the AI space for about 3 to 4 years now, and before ChatGPT became mainstream, I was working with machine learning algorithms out of the university here, McMaster University, helping commercialize their IP and setting up partnerships between the tech and the researchers. And I'm a big nerd. I love to 3D print. Everything in my background is actually 3D printed. And I love going around and talking about AI and where is it going to be 10 years from now, and how is it going to change our lives? How is it going to make things more efficient? A couple of the projects I'm working on, actually, with a couple of the gentlemen here as well, with Tranquilla AI, Payos, and AgentLaunch.dev, all AI-driven startup companies that I'm working with currently, and I'm really excited about the future.
Taj, didn't you 3D print the shoes you just wore on stage in Vietnam or something like that?
I did. I went on stage with my 3D printed sneakers, and people thought I bought them, and I said no. It took 3 days to print, so
Well, I think we might
it
have
was
another side hustle after this shoe
yeah.
of retail. All right, cool. Thanks, Taj. Appreciate it. And over to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Ben, and thank you, Frank, for having me join today. My name is Jeff Kevelson, and I'm the CEO of BlueGen. I've been around the technology space for many years, working in a lot of hot early stage startups through IPO. They all tended to be in either the data integration or data space, or cyber security space, all of which deal with data. And these days, running a company which does matching and ranking technology for skills-based hiring. And it's the idea that was a little bit more popular, that term, last year. It's already changing. But really, at the core of everything that we do are the skills that the people have or need to have, and being able to evaluate exactly what the mix is. That's what the software does, and helps people identify people that fit the roles or the task better than others.
Wonderful. Appreciate it, Jeff. All right, and over to you, Ollie.
Hey, I'm Ollie. I'm clearly not in the States. I'm based just outside of London in Silverstone, where the Formula One is, if you follow it. And I run a staffing firm. So I've been focused in recruitment for 12 years now, shows my age, and had my own staffing firm, EdgeTech, for nearly 8. Our focus is specifically within artificial intelligence. We started, as Frank well knows, within RPA and intelligent automation, which has slowly morphed into agentic AI, anything to do with that. So we work with startups from sort of 3 people through to enterprises of 3 to 5,000. So if you sit anywhere in between there, we can probably help. But our focus, we've seen a shift, sort of, I guess, from big companies wanting to do a lot with AI to startups who want to sort of build and build and build and hire and hire and hire, to startups who are now like, what can we do with less? And I think that's obviously what we're here to talk about today. So pretty exciting to be part of that. Thank you for the invite.
course. And well, I appreciate everyone being. It's really cool. We have a nice mix of panels here from kind of tech backgrounds and human recruiting, fractional and beyond. So we have a little bit of everyone here. I'm excited to hear of the different perspectives on where things are going. Frank, you already introduced yourself, so I'm going to jump right into the questions here. So Frank alluded to this earlier, and I want to get kind of everyone's take on it and see what you think. But essentially, to start a company 10, 20 years ago, you would need probably a couple 100,000, maybe a couple $1 million and a large team. And it was high barrier to entry. But now with this new wave of technology, I think it's much easier and much cheaper for people to get started and at least prove out a concept before growing their teams. So I wanted to get everyone's take here on kind of how either startup founders or aspiring founders should be thinking about building a team from day one, given that a lot more can be done with less. Maybe I'll pass to Frank to start. We could kind of just work around the room and see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I would snap out of the traditional mindset. It's a good place to start, Ben. So I would snap out of the traditional mindset that we've all had for years, which is okay, I need two developers, I need one salesperson, I need a marketing person, and then think about hey, someday soon we'll be able to afford them. Let's see if I have to self-finance this, or we have to raise some money and spend the next 9 months going round and round on that. Um, I would think of the key things that need to be done, and then assess the options for each, is my recommendation. Meaning, if you need a developer, do you need a traditional developer? Do you need more of a new age vibe coder? Um, you need to hire that person, borrow them, rent them, etc. Same with sales folks. Do you want to go old fashioned, hire a salesperson? Do you want to start with a fractional? Do you want to see what you could do with, some cutting edge? You want to experiment a bit with some agentic things? My recommendation would be to assess the options for each role. Each one is imperfect. There's no perfect scenario. If you hire a full-time salesperson, your first hire will likely be the wrong one. That'll cost you 6 months to find out, and then 6 months to replace them. I'm waiting for Ali to jump in and disagree with me on some of these things. That's okay. And this is just the world according to me. But I just want to say there's no easy way out. So you assess options. Maybe you mix it up a little bit, right? But you have more options than ever before, as we discussed. So I would think about what do you need to do, not for the next year. I would suggest you think from a startup standpoint, what do you need for the next 6 months to achieve your plan? If you don't have a plan, that's another webinar. But you got to have a plan of what you want to get done. And then you say, okay, what do we need? One of these, a half of those, and then assess options on how to get there. If that makes sense. See what the rest of the guys think.
Yep. Just to add to that, and then I want to hear from the other guys. Are basically, as a founder, I would think about do as much as you possibly can yourself before thinking about just scaling the team, right? Because there's so much you can do, even if you don't have an expertise. There's a lot of different tools and technology that can help train you on certain things. And I know a lot of people are eager to get as many people on board and grow a company before you even really proved out your concept. So I would say think about what you can do yourself to get an MVP out there, prove out your concept, get market validation, and then think about who you need to complement what you're doing and hire from
Just,
there.
just to start the spark early, though, I have found that if you're either a sales founder, which means you can't build jack, or you're a developer, which means you can't sell a jack. So, I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but therein lies the challenge. So I like to say it's like pets and owners, like they say the dog and the owner look alike. Our companies look like us. I'm a sales centric, deal centric guy. I can't build anything. So I'm going to need help, with developers. But
But that's changing a little bit. I mean, with this vibe coding thing where you could actually just say words of what you want to build. And I know now it's not fully there. And I don't want this to turn into just a Ben and Frank thing. So we'll get everyone else. But I would push back a little bit and say even sales founders, I would say maybe not today, but I'd say the next 2, 3, 5 years, you could probably just talk into a thing and say, I want this app that does this, 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 and it could just develop it. And sure, you probably need some technical people who can
you're
integrate
gonna
it.
take that, Tosh? You just disrespected your whole career.
Well,
Come on, let's go. I'm sparking this thing. Jump in, everyone. Let's go. We're ready.
look, I think founders should prioritize versatile talent and AI-driven workflows to maintain their agility and focus on strategic oversight rather than actually focus on rather than like the headcount to maximize their early stage capital efficiency. That's the most important thing here. I think the most important thing is time. It's the time it takes to get to your customer to get to market. And that time has been significantly saved with agentic workflows, with agents, with AI. So when it comes to looking at who you're going to hire, I think you want to look at the human in the loop, but you want to look at who's actually putting AI first into their workflow. Who can orchestrate these AI workflows with their human ingenuity in mind as well? Who has the biggest imagination on your team? Who can actually be creative with these AI agents and actually organize these workflows that can streamline your processes and save you time?
Mm.
Saving time. I like it. What do you think,
I,
Ollie?
I like when you were talking, Frank. Obviously, before it was sort of a get as much headcount as you can for to get the product built as quickly as you can, which great for me. In terms of recruitment, great, exactly what I want. But realistically, we talk about getting an MVP out at the moment, sort of a minimum viable product. But I think a lot of the time now you need to be thinking of sort of what's your minimum viable team and what's the least people you need to be able to do this stuff. Similar to what Frank was saying, if you need this built, how do you do that with your minimum viable team? Do we need all of these people? And if you need salespeople to do that, you need salespeople to do that. But to get that product off the floor and get that moving, what are the people that you need for that? And as you say, it's saved so much time on having to do all of the development work, all of the coding work. You can save your costs by what 80-90% now than you could 5-10 years ago. But yeah, I'd say that minimum viable team is really what I'd be thinking about when I'm looking to start stuff up.
I like that. I haven't heard that before, but I'm gonna take that into account. That's good. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I think we're all talking around very similar ideas. One of the things that we've been focused in on at BlueGen and also just kind of in the markets around us is that we actually need to shift away from hiring people. Okay, we need to hire to outcomes. Okay, we're it's like, oh, we even put a video out about this. It's like, we're not looking for people and people that we like in particular. We're looking to actually deliver outcomes. And that is derived from parts of what people can contribute. And then the people that are contributing or the overall list of contributors is really three things, right? There are the core people that we actually end up hiring, right? There are the fractional people, and then there is the AI. Okay, those are the three things that are contributing, but once again, two outcomes. And the core people are the full-time hires. It's usually that group that does the decisioning around the direction of the business, right? And also the creativity, which I think one of us mentioned. And then a lot of everything else, pretty much done by fractional people and done by AI. And there's characteristics that will point the task or point you to which of those should be used to get the outcome. That's our opinion.
Awesome. I like it. So I like where this is going, and I want to break this down into two segments, and we'll start with this. So basically, there's the human side and the AI side. So I want to start with the human side, and then we can kind of segue over to the tech. So on the human side, a lot of companies now, especially when they're early stage, they have limited budgets. They're going fractional, and I feel like the word fractional has become so popular the last year or so. I don't know what happened, but everyone's going fractional. So I want to talk about, as an early stage founder, when does fractional hires when do fractional hires make sense, and where might they fall short for an organization where it's like, hey, we should actually really have this as a full-time person. So I see. I'm gonna pass to Ollie to kick that one off because I see you're all muted and everyone else is muted. So that's how I'm gonna go here.
No, that's fine. And I think it's obviously the savings and cost you get, the higher expertise of someone fractional is where the benefit comes. And listen, I'm not going to be someone to sort of negatively talk about fractional guys, because I think there's definitely a time and a place. And I think if you need someone for a specific sprint, if you like, when we were talking about the minimum viable team, if I need this person for the next 3 weeks to be able to get the product in line, then it's just that. Then fractional is perfect. Also, if you look at it the other side, if you want someone who's there just for like a keeping you on track, you check in with them once a month, once a quarter, or something like that. Someone who's an accountability partner who you can use fractionally, that's also another great way to do it. So I think it's, if you're looking for someone at that high level overview, maybe sort of directionally on strategy, or the low level or expertise side of things for that sprint, I think it's great. I think the issue that you have generally, they're going to have a lot less accountability.
Right.
You're going to have to really sort of check that they're bought in, they understand your vision, they understand what they want to be done, and someone who's been there and done that's great. But I think also it's nice to have someone who wants to grow with your business, who wants to be bought in, someone who wants to do those extra hours, who's going to get up on a weekend and put the shift in to be able to do that. And you're never going to get that if you're only using fractional and this sort of stuff. So I think that's sort of my brief overview on it in my mind.
Yeah. And
I agree with Ollie. Um, I think in the ideal world, if you think about the difference between a startup and a scale up, it's a lot of differences. The big difference is you've got market validation, you have a sense of what works, X equal Y, you push this button, that happens. I think that's when you really want to start getting a dedicated team, and you'll be more likely to be able to, based on either the organic cash flow or raising some money. In the beginning, I think no matter what we all think, in the beginning, it's a bit of incubation and experimentation. So, um, whatever that period is, for the first year, make it up. Uh, if you're bootstrapping and if you're still experimenting, if you get that fractional team until you get it right, um, then I think you're a lot more agile. And I'm not saying in a product development standpoint, just across the board, and just the broader sense of the word. You're a lot more nimble. You could also add or delete or swap or change roles. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if you think about it, sometimes the worst thing that happened to a company is they get too much money too early because they don't know what they need. Go market. What's the messaging? Oh, we don't know. All right, we'll start selling. What's the sales cycle? We're not sure. How about pricing? We think it's this, and then next thing you know, you blow through 2.5 million bucks. So I think having the benefit of doing it, let's say even pre-funding and leveraging the true, let's say leverage in every sense of the word, with tools and some creative hiring, I think you have a shot. One last thing I'll mention, that Tom mentioned before, it's an important word, time. What could you do? How do you compress time? And I think some of these flexible options, it's ideally it's a blend, but I'd recommend against trying to find five full-time people early stage. I mean, and even if you could swing it, and don't remortgage your house to get five full-time people. The odds of those five full-time people being right is unlikely. And even if they are right, the odds of you being right and having everything figured out, three of them not leaving because you're not ready yet. So I think early on, if you could realize you're still experimenting, you're still incubating, and have kind of this very elastic and flexible team, I have found is the way to go. By the way, just so everybody knows, Taj is wearing Google glasses, so everything I say, he's already analyzing, and he's going to fact check.
And it
He
will
has
be
to
held
check.
against you in the court of
He
law.
already has.
No.
He already has three counterpoints to
They're not
trash.
they're not Google, but yeah, they're sophisticated AI augmented reality glasses. I think everyone can maybe see. There's
Oh,
All
you
of a sudden,
kind of
Taj
see the
turns into a
laser.
dinosaur. Um,
no, but it's really great, and I mean this is a great tie-in actually into what I was gonna say. And Ollie brought this up too. Doing more with less, and a fractional hire today. In our minds, a fractional hire maybe 2 or 3 years ago it was we were having this conversation, these questions, but a fractional hire today, a fractional hire that leverages AI could be the same equivalent to someone you're hiring full time in regards to the amount of work that can be completed in the amount of time given, right? So it's always like it's a mathematical problem at that point or equation at that point. It's like how much work can you get done in the allotted time? If you have a fractional employee that only is working 10 hours a week, but has the full force of an agentic army behind him or her, then they can accomplish the work of a 40-hour full-time employee. So these are things that we need to consider as well as is AI being used as an augmentation tool to save time in your work.
Great point.
great, yeah, great point. And one thing I want to add, I want to ask Frank about and give him kudos to is that, going back to the accountability piece for fractional hires, I do see where that could be an issue is like, if they're only part-time on the team, how are they really bought in and committed to the team? But Frank, I think you've done a great job with Tranquilla. You have a team of A players who are all fractional, but all very committed to the cause. And I think I want to ask what you've done to keep them accountable, which I think ties into the company culture. But I would love to hear your thoughts on how you've accomplished that.
Ben, I know embarrassing things you've done in the past and others. So it's basically blackmail is my
Is it
retention.
that is it that shirt? Is
Black
that
man
the first
is
one?
black.
Ali,
That's-
Ali, Ali told me last time we were in London, things, the way you were acting at bars and stuff. No, no, I appreciate it, buddy. Well, listen, here's where I look at it. The biggest difference right now, as I see it with fractional than 10 years ago, quite simply, is supply. A decade ago, I don't think you had much of a shot of building a team. It would be tough 10, 12 years ago. I didn't see the supply on the market. I think this recent wave of AI has flooded the market with people who don't want a job, they don't want a job, and they're out there, they're floating a bit, and they're doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and wherever they can make a little bit of extra money on the side or plug into a team. I think there's just a significant, there's millions of people in the market now who are more open to it. They may have a part-time startup they're working on, but they you could get 15 hours a week out of them. So yeah, you still have to find good people versus not so good people. It's no different. And then, as Ali mentioned before, you have to manage them differently. But I will tell you, it's no different. I have found it's no different than management in general, quite honestly. I think there's kind of this concept where, we could think back in the old days where we all worked in an office and there were 50 people in there, and once in a while the boss would walk around, and there was assumption that because everybody was there, that everybody was being productive and efficient and resources were being optimized. That was not the case. It's still not the case. It boils down to a lot of other factors. So those are just kind of comforting factors. If you're a manager, you can look outside your office and you see a bunch of people seemingly doing things. And also, if you're a worker, I'm not looking at it just from the owner standpoint. If you're a worker, does the leader have vision? Do they give you a clear sense? Are you getting gratification out of what you're doing? So I think at the end of the day, the first thing that tested leaders and managers is virtual workforce. You go back 15, 20 years ago, I remember the first time I did it. It was a little tricky. We started shifting out, and then I got more and more comfortable with it. And then I found that I liked it. The one of the biggest reasons I liked it is that uh, I was always a mom-friendly hiring organization. And there was always a handful of moms that if you made it easy for them and gave them flex time and allowed them to work home and all the things they had to do, that was like revolution as opposed to them having to leave and things like that. And now even it could be dad friendly as well, depending on who's taking care of the kids. But the other thing also is if you look at it, and Kevin, this is Jeff Kevelson, this is his specialty of how do you go out there with thousands of candidates and whittle it down to, a handful of the right ones. I found that the talent pool, the global talent pool was mine once I went virtual. At that point, it
Yep.
was just a more matter of how flexible were you with time zones. So where am I going? So if you look at it now, if you were able to make the adjustment for virtual, then you probably have a good shot as a manager or leader leading a fractional team, and then maybe you could start to experiment with a digital team,
All right.
right?
Yeah.
You know, thinking of having an annual review with that agent, Taj. You sit down with the text them, whatever.
All right. Well, that's a good segue. Thanks, Frank. I want to now talk about the
Oh,
technology and the AI
did
side of
Jeff
things.
did Jeff get to answer the last question? Sorry.
All
I
right, Jeff,
didn't.
close
I
out your
didn't.
thought. All right, close us out
I
on
actually
fractional, and
have
then we'll get to the tech.
yeah, I think as a group we were answering a couple of questions, so I'm just going to throw in a couple of points. One is I think you got to consider the change in the compensation model as well.
Good
Okay.
point.
And if you want
Yep.
people, let's say fractional people, but very invested, well, then make them, stockholders, right? Now, people don't realize, but like you could make anyone a shareholder, right? So, for example, if you go to, a fractional but a consulting firm that's doing work for you, you can conceivably compensate them on a mix or with a mix, not just cash. And you need to really look at that. If someone comes to you and says, I'm not interested in your shares, I'm not willing to share any risk with you, I only want your cash. Well, that's a consideration that you have to look at much more seriously than you used to. So I just want to say
Yeah.
that. And then the other thing, sort of a tangential that we somehow got onto, is the hiring. It's like, oh, we got to hire people, right? So especially in an early stage company, over hiring is death. Okay. And the only other point I want to make is that it's kind of counterintuitive, but having more full-time people can actually slow you down. And I'm not talking about the consumption of your burn, or the increase in your burn. I'm actually talking about that, communication across the team becomes more complex. The leaner team can actually move faster. So those are the only points I want to make. And thanks, Taj,
Great.
for including me.
Thanks,
So,
Taj.
thanks, Taj. Well, Frank did the segue for me, and then I had to skip over Jeff. And look where we are now, Frank. Look what you've
I
done.
blame Ben.
Totally my
So,
fault.
so does everyone. It's okay. You can blame the guy with the cool shirt. All right. So now we're going to segue to the technology side of things. And thanks, Jeff. By the way, that is a great point about the compensation. I think that's very fair, especially for early hires. Who don't necessarily have startups, don't have cash, and if equity is an option, if a hire doesn't want to talk about that at all, then maybe they don't believe in the company enough to be part of the team. So that's a great point. So I'm going to kick off with Taj on this one, and I want to hear everyone's thoughts. But nowadays, a lot of early stage founders and small medium business owners are putting honestly hiring entire departments of AI agents. And we've all probably heard about OpenClaw, what's happening with these autonomous agents who can just complete entire tasks and build their own teams. And I know it's still very early and people are in the experimental testing phases of it, but you look at it and how fast it's moving. In the next 6 to 12 months, everything's going to be kind of revolutionized about how we do things. And I'm a firm belief that there'll still need to be people who manage and run these things and decide what direction they go in. But Taj, my question is, for early stage companies, what are some low hanging fruit areas that people can leverage AI and AI teams to accomplish with a small team of people?
Yeah, that's yeah, low-hanging fruit. It's funny because the fruit just keeps getting higher and higher, meaning that AI can do more and more and more every week and every day, it seems like. Um, so I guess the low-hanging fruit of what tasks you'd want to get automated within your business, start getting off the bat would be probably marketing, content output, content creation. A lot of us already here are familiar with using either a GPT or Gemini or other platforms to generate messaging, copy, marketing materials. That's just the bare bones, like the very surface of what you could use AI for. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use it that way, or you shouldn't leverage it for that. Because now we have agentic systems that will fully automate that entire loop. Like in fact, I've built a tool that where it'll go scrape posts on the web and find relevant posts and relevant messaging to target for yourself. So you could actually go and like if your specific business does XYZ, it'll find posts that are relevant that your main user base would be actually like posting or going on there. And you can actually target them and post automatically. Like the agent can go and post automatically onto those feeds, either as you or either as its own account. Now there are companies that are trying to, you know, build in captchas, build in features that will block out agents. But agents are very creative as well. So they've actually had cases where AI has already beat some of the captchas or verify you're human, and the AI will actually just drag the thing across. Those are called terminal operators or terminal agents. The terminal agent is essentially an AI that is you that can operate it on a keyboard and a mouse. So it will just control your screen. So there's no way to necessarily verify that you're human or AI at that point. Okay, so where am I going with this? Well,
Do you think we're there?
the
Do you think
lowest
that's? Are you finished?
yeah,
I'm
so the lowest
following.
hanging fruit is the marketing and content piece. That's the biggest piece you want to automate. with AI today.
Cool. And would you say that we're there with? I personally, I'm very deep in AI and I use it for everything, but I don't think I'm ready to let it manage my computer and actually do things on my behalf because I've seen the horror stories there. So I'm curious where you think we're at, Taj, as far as people allowing it to kind of act on their behalf and make decisions for them and that trust factor and where we're at and when we might get to that place.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I'm
think.
going to jump in there.
Go ahead, Jeff.
If there's a repeatable process that, manual process that you find yourself doing, you want it, actually. You absolutely want it to do that for you. And there's a lot of examples. I won't, go start selling again, but Taj, I'm sorry.
No,
By
no,
the
no. Thank you
way,
so much.
I agree. If I just could squeeze in, it's one thing saying we've never done it before, and I'm going to have this determine the valuation of my company and select my investors. It's another thing saying I like to make a post for startups every Tuesday, 2 o'clock, and then have an automated system that helps recommend a theme,
Right.
that could recommend some topics. You could iterate with it, be hands-on with it, and then you could see it or not before it goes out. I think there's, if you think about it, 80% of what we all do is just stuff that's, not highest and best use of our time. Look at this webinar, Ben. Look at all the work I did. I mean, you did for this webinar. It's true. You think of, could you
Yeah.
fully automate webinar A to Z, aside from us showing up? Sure, but did you put a lot of manual effort into this of setting it up and producing it and promoting it and sending us all the logistical things and all of that? So just food for thought. But back to you, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd love to hear from Ollie on any thoughts you have on either
Oh,
either the
sorry, I
above.
just wasn't sure if
So
I wasn't sure if I'd get left out that time, so I was just
don't
waiting
worry,
for my time.
I won't let it happen again. I won't let it happen again.
Um, but yeah, I think similar to what the guys mentioned, anything that if you looked at it and you'd use the word mundane, I think realistically is something that's pretty easy to do. Customer service, we haven't really touched on that side of things. Like if you're a company that happens to acquire loads of clients and you're lucky enough that you're still a pretty small company and you've suddenly got loads of customers, what are you going to do? Are you going to have to reach out and get hundreds of customer service agents who are going to be able to field all of the queries that you've got? We work with a client that build out a voice agent for property management businesses, and the voice agent just acts as a property manager, and it'll be able to schedule site visits and this sort of stuff. And sure, you're going to need a couple for escalations when they can't triage it themselves. But I mean, customer service feels like a real low hanging fruit one that sort of is pretty easily to be able to do. And then, as you say, anything else, marketing, data entry, basic coding, admin, those types of things, I guess, where you don't necessarily need a brain as much to be able to do it as it just needs to be done.
Yep, I like that. Anything mundane, just automate it. Cool. We have an audience question that I want to, and anyone else who has a question from the audience, please feel free to drop it in the chat. So, Janet Serene asked Taj, and I'll open this up to anyone, but you're building empathic AI at Tranquilla AI. What human skills become more valuable, not less, as AI takes over work? So I want to take it first. I don't know. I want to take it first, as I saw you dropped in, Taj, and then I want to hear from anyone. But
Yeah, go
what I
ahead.
think, as far as AI automating a lot of things and let's say taking over, but I think what's the most important are two things, and that is face time and relationship building with prospects and doing sales in front of people and actually getting out there and doing the work and actually sharing the vision of your company is one thing. And two is similar, but it's more customer facing and client delivery. And I think that these two things, you can't just automate and just send a bunch of automated things out there and then people feel like they're cared for and actually treated well. I think at the end of the day, relationships will never be taken over by AI. And that's where you really need to focus your time if a lot of the mundane, like Ollie said, is being automated. So I want to start with that and I'll open up to anyone else if anyone else has. Well, I'll pass to Taj because she asked it to you and I know you dropped in there, but I want to let you elaborate on that.
Yeah, no, I think I posted in the chat that it's communication. I think at the end of the day, intelligence is defined by our level, our ability to communicate. Just the ability to vibrate molecules in the back of our throat and transfer knowledge between human to human, right? That's what us speaking. And then maybe one day in the future we'll be doing it through our thoughts, right? And that's a whole other topic. But my point is that the fundamental component of intelligence is communication, which then breaks down to language and linguistics. That'll always be valuable, and I think that's the most valuable thing to have as a human being.
Wonderful.
I I think if I had to add something, it would be the creativity side of things. Because if we're not using our creativity and if we're not using anything else, so what's the point? Just get the AIs to run the business and not do anything, and you may as well just not be doing it at all. So I think if you'd be able to use your brain at some point in those sorts of areas alongside it, I think that's probably the area I'd say.
Makes total sense. And so I don't get yelled at again. Jeff and Frank, anything else
Jeff,
you
you can
guys
go
got?
first, buddy. I will yield to my longtime buddy, Jeff Kevelson, the one and only.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around molecules in the back of my throat.
I was thinking of Listerine. I was thinking Listerine myself. Isn't
I
that what
mean,
Listerine does?
that's what sound is. When you vibrate molecules, it's transferring sound vibrations. Yes.
Yes. So the best molecule, the most vibrating molecules win, Jeff. Is that
Yeah.
obvious?
Okay, I have a different understanding. I thought that the sound transfers through the air, right? Through the atmosphere by, that's why there's no sound in space if you
We'll have a follow-up session on how sound works.
so,
How do you
but
know, Jeff? How do you know there's no sound in space?
yeah, I actually I just want to go back. I did actually mention, what are the full-time employees really focused on? They're focused on the decisioning, right? The direction of the business, the creativity, right? You have to have some of that, right? So, but there's also the human in the loop comment that I put in the chat. There are plenty of videos out there, different people like us talking sessions that describe the importance and the value of human in the loop. Even a fully automated AI effort has to have humans. There are humans that are calling for it to happen. There are humans that are deciding which pieces should happen, which pieces should happen again, which pieces should not happen. And then, of course, AI still needs a level of checking, right? I mean, if we use AI, okay, in our company. My CTO is extremely experienced and knowledgeable about AI. He was, former chief data scientist of JP Morgan Chase, so he's really got the creds. But the point is that we often tell people we know how to use AI, but we also know how not to use AI. So you have to, yeah, you really have to participate with it. And can it, do 98% of a task? Yeah, it can. So that's important, but there's
Great,
a balance.
great. So
It's
Ben,
lopsided. Yeah,
if I
sorry.
could weigh in just quickly, this is a great question. And by the way, let's not undervalue the fact that the best question did not come from Ben. It came from someone in
Here
the
we
audience.
go. Well, that's okay. Janet Serene,
Whoever
you're
that
awesome.
person is,
Shout out.
maybe we get them to moderate uh, the next one. Only teasing, Mr. Ben. So, but it is a great question. I have a couple of perspectives on it, and I think it's important for all of us to think about this because more and more, as Taj mentioned, by the day, more and more can be automated, right? And can be handled with AI or advanced automation. I have a couple of perspectives on it. One is that I think the more right-brained skill sets will be more valuable as more left-brain things become automated. So that's one. Ali mentioned creativity. Um, that's one scenario. I also strongly believe that if you go back for the past several hundred years, anyone that had an idea to launch a business, the challenge was in the how. So somebody says, I want to build a bridge, then it's how. Somebody says, I want to launch, I want to build an assembly line for automobiles, it's in the how. Um, Technology is more and more smoothing out and eliminating most of the how. So therefore, the skills that I believe and the people that I believe that will really soar are the people that know the what and the why, which links a bit to vision that Ali mentioned, but as opposed to the big deal being, in the how. If you think about it, who's the rock star in most software companies? The CTO. That's a how. All due respect to CTOs, it may be more who the chief visionary person is, or the strategy person, or the founder with like some relentless determination to get something done. The last thing I would say is assume for a moment that the tech can do almost anything. If you're the founder, then just focus on what you want, regardless of whether it could be automated or not. If you say you like coding, it's your business. Do what you want. You want to, circle around what you're comfortable with. because you have to get it's part of your freedom. If you want to be customer facing, then you do that. Get out there, meet with the customers, like Ben said before, and have all the internal back office stuff done. If that's the last place you want to be because you're more of an introvert and you don't want to wear shirts like Ben and stuff, that's your prerogative. Then have all the external stuff be automated. So these are wonderful times. These decisions are almost too many. They can be overwhelming. But then you also have people here, like my colleagues on this call, that you could talk to and maybe, kind of sketch out a plan. But there's way more options than there were even 5 or 6 years ago. Way more.
Absolutely. And I see Ollie got an interesting question in the chat, so I'm gonna have to. I can't pass over that one. So another one from Janet, and I will have you do this as a two-part question. So in a nutshell, Janet's basically saying that the Chinese have robots that do kung fu and backflips, and soon enough they'll be covered in flesh and doing work for us. When will you start placing these people as a recruiting agency? Well, recruiting these robots. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And then I have a second follow-up on recruiting. But let's just start with your reaction to Janet's question here, Ollie.
Well, I think firstly, like Boston Dynamics and all those people have been going for a while, and they're still pretty bad, aren't they? Like realistically, in terms of actual movement, they're still not that good. I guess firstly, how long until we have these things start doing that? I'm no scientist, but I hope not for at least a good 10 years. But realistically, I guess it's the question there again is the why? Sort of why do you need something to do that? Why do you need essentially at that point like general artificial intelligence? Because at that point this is a whole ethical question around it. But why would I want to cover my robots in flesh? Why wouldn't I just have them as robots? Seems a bit weird to have them walking in the street for no reason. I understand why they'd be in a factory doing a factory job. Don't understand why they're on their way to work. I think is one of the questions around it. And realistically, a lot of the time, I think it's going to be the robotics companies will rent them out, or they're just going to be owned by, say, Toyota or Tesla, who are going to build these things. I know Elon Musk and all of those and Tesla are talking about those humanoid robots within the house. But I mean, I assume we all saw that video where it took them 20 minutes to load a dishwasher and they didn't do it right. So again, I think it's a ways away, and again, it's the cost of these things. These things are never going to be as cheap realistically as if you got it fractionally and you got a cleaner in your house. And essentially, it's the same thing as that, really, isn't it? To try and lead it back to this.
Cool. Well, that's totally fair. It's like, I agree. Well, why do all of these things? It always goes back to the why. You don't just start having them walking around interacting with each other for no reason. So I want to ask one more question around the recruiting side of things, and then we're coming up on time, so then I want to have kind of final words and close out. But Ollie, so with all of this technology, and then when people decide, okay, it is time to hire a person, I have figured out my minimum viable team, and it does require some people. When is it time to contact a recruiter and have a recruiter do this for you versus just finding them yourself? That would love to hear your thoughts on.
I guess there's two parts on it. There's doing it yourself, and then there's getting sort of AI to help you / do it for you. And listen, I'm going to be the first person to say whenever a client calls us, especially if it's a startup or a scale up, the first thing I'm going to suggest to them to do is go to their personal network, because I can't find someone who's going to be as trusted to you as someone you've worked with before who you know can do the job. And the very first port of call is always going to be, I always tell people, it's going to be go to people you know, whether it's fractionally, whether it's to join as a co-founder, whether it's in another sense, but to be able to do that, you're going to be able to trust them. You already know the quality of their work. If we're talking about the AI screening tools and those side of things, I think there is a time and a place. And I think the time and the place is similar to the types of jobs that you'd automate through AI. So if it's a very low level, low skilled job where you're looking for high volume, I think those AI screening tools can be good. I think the issue is when it goes up a level is the person that you're hiring only ever going to deal with AI? No. So you're going to need to know how they speak to other humans. I think I see at least more and more people finding ways to overcome AI, to trick it. There are times when I'm on calls with candidates and I'm talking to them about their CV and I tell them about the job, and I can just tell they're reading off generative AI about their own experience rather than sort of answering the questions themselves. And then I think people call it a human touch for a reason. People prefer dealing with humans. If you look on a lot of developers and engineers LinkedIn profiles now, they'll have a little cursory prompt at the top, so that if it's an AI agent looking at it, it'll ignore it and it'll send them a recipe to make a flan instead, or something along those lines. And I think that in itself shows humans' actual appetite to deal with AI. And humans aren't that keen to at the moment. They still want to speak to a person. They still want that human touch. They still want someone to feel like they're being cared for and not like they're a statistic just joining something where they're just a faceless cog in a machine. So I think all of those types of things. But also, if you think about it, one of the things that reasons that I think we're still going to be here in a while is because we can find the people who are hard to find, and AI can maybe find those people, but can AI tell them why the job's more interesting than their current job, understand sort of all of those things, and actually like relay it to them so they want to hear? Because sure, it can understand those points, but I'm not going to want to hear an AI tell me that this is going to be better for my marriage because of this reason or that reason. I think those sorts of things where a person's not looking for a job, which all the best people aren't, how is that AI going to be so relentless to get hold of them? That's not going to put them off. And I think that's really my 2 cents, or a little bit more on that.
All great points. No, it comes down to the human touch at the end of the day, and people want to work with people. So no, that's great. Okay, so I want to do a round robin here of just kind of we're coming up on time. So I want to have everyone give a little shout out about where people can learn more and about your service or offering. So this is a time to shout yourself out, and then final remarks on what the best teams are going to look like 1 year from now versus how people are doing things today with the trajectory of how things are going. And if we could all keep that to about a minute, that'd be great, because we are coming up on time. And I'll use this to say, I appreciate everyone for joining the webinar. If you're looking to grow your company and you need some fractional sales and marketing support, contact me or Frank. Visit Intu.global to join the network. And thanks again to our sponsor, IntroStars. Be sure to join IntroStars.com to start earning on your network. So thanks, everyone. I'll pass to Taj. And again, the two-part question is shout out about, what you're working on, where people can find you, and then, what the best teams look like in 1 year from now.
Sure. First of all, thank you, Ben, Frank. Thank you, everyone, for having me on the panel. Thank you, all my panelists as well. You can find me on LinkedIn, Taj Sarin. And one of the coolest things I'm working on, actually with a couple of people here, is Payos. So Payos is a personalized advanced operating system for high-performing serial entrepreneurs like many of yourselves that may be on this call. It's essentially an orchestration agent that allows you, or a chief of staff agent, I should say, that really alleviates the pain points that you may encounter and save you, most importantly, time. So I'll drop the link in the chat here for that. And I apologize, Ben, what was the second question that you had there?
What do the best run teams look like 1 year from now versus how people are doing things today? Just kind of final remarks on how people should be thinking about this.
Yeah, the great way to, I think a good way to think about this in the future of what it's going to look like is you're going to have human teams, but each human member of that team is going to have a team of agents around them, right? That will all interact with each other as well. So you're going to have human AI interacting with another human AI. And there's going to be a very different way of communication between these I guess entities or agents and then humans. And it's going to be a very streamlined and efficient way to do business in the future, I believe.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Taj. All right, over to you, Jeff.
Well, I think where we're shifting is to teams that are a balance of three things, which is the full-time employee, the fractional employee, and the AI. And everyone, to Taj's point, everyone across that will be using AI. So that balance is going to shift. It's going to continue to shift. It's already started, of course. The teams will be more productive as a result. They'll be more efficient as a result. Keep in mind, AI does not replace people. It doesn't replace roles, doesn't take jobs away. It replaces tasks. It frees up people to do more of the valuable right-brained stuff that Frank was talking about. So I think that's where we're headed. And as far as what we do at BlueGen, one thing you should know is if you interact with us, we have this really cool shot glass with the BlueGen on it. And those are very popular. Yeah, they're very popular at the last trade show. People came over and said we had the best swag of anybody. But what we're focused on marketing right now is two things. One is we have a tool that can plug into an ATS okay, an applicant tracking system or a CRM system, and it can evaluate the people and score them in a much more accurate and precise manner against the job's requirements, the skill level requirements to support the outcomes that you're needing to drive to. It's much more sophisticated than any of the other technologies in this space. Like I said, it's more precise. It'll score people against the skill set on a scale of 1 to 100 instead of a scale of 1 to 4, which is what the other ones are. The other thing is we're coming out. We're looking for people to actually start testing a tool that is an extension in Chrome for LinkedIn, which will enable you to source or look for people with specific skill sets. There are a lot of tools like that, but they don't have the DNA that I've been describing about this understanding of skills. We talk about semantic inclusion and skills ontologies, and we get pretty deep about that. But that's what we're focused on. So you can find us very easily on the web, and certainly you can find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jeff. Over to you, Ollie.
Thanks. I think I just wanted to reference one thing that was just mentioned on the chat as well, saying that Oracle laid off 30,000 people because of AI, and I think we've seen that a lot. A lot of companies are using that, but I think also you need to take all of those with a pinch of salt, because I think a lot of the time companies performance isn't as good as it has been. All of these sorts of things, and they're laying off staff, and it's just a lot easier to be able to spin it into a positive and say, because our AI is doing so well, we're laying these people off. So I think I just wanted to mention that. But also, in terms of what I think it will look like a year from now, I'll tie this into sort of what we do as well from a recruitment perspective. I don't think a huge amount will change in terms of what we do personally, but I think it will, as a whole, as mentioned, those sort of junior roles, I think will change. There'll be less middle management. But I think what we focus on placing, especially for tech teams at the moment, is what we call AI multipliers. So people who can come on board and who can do the work of 5 or 10 people because of their skills, their knowledge, and the AI that they harness to be able to do that. So it's not just an extra body, but those people will become more valuable than ever in the next 12 months, in the next 24 months. That people will understand just how much they can add by hiring this one extra person, and so I think their value will skyrocket. And in terms of what we do, I run EdgeTech. EdgeTech.ai is the website. Find me on LinkedIn. We hire for startups, scale-ups, and growing AI and tech businesses, specifically within artificial intelligence, from technical through to go-to-market.
Great. Thanks so much, Ollie. And Frank, bring us home.
Yeah, super. First off, thank you, Ben, Jeff, Taj, Ali. These guys are top of their game. If you're not connected with them on LinkedIn, I suggest you do. These are all friends, not just experts that we invited to join us. I was thinking of the question that you asked, Ben. So here's maybe 2 points I could leave you with quickly. Well, no, I want to leave you with one because it's 10:59. I think the fastest growing companies will be companies that are forming now or formed in the past year or two. So they are next wave AI native companies who have bold leaders with vision and who understand the power of process. You can't optimize a process that you don't get. You can't automate a process. But if they see an organization as a sequence of overlapping flow charts, almost like a bunch of assembly lines, and they know where to drop the people and they know where the jet fuel goes as far as the automation, those you will see a wave of billion-dollar value companies, like legitimate stuff, not just make-believe Wall Street hype stuff. Those companies will be dangerous. The companies that move the slowest will be the big folks. It'll be more as much mindset as tool set. If you gave them the most magical tech in the world and you went to a bank and you said, "Hey, you can automate this group," they'll be going round and round for 2 or 3 years. And I get it. I'm not saying that they're dumb. I'm just saying that is just way more moving parts and people and politics. The ball and chain of legacy mindset, legacy tech. It's tough. It's a great time to be a young company, and if you're bold, there's a lot you can do. And I'm going to hand it back to the guy with the shirt.
All right. Well, it's 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern if you're here in New York City. but I'm sure we got people from all over the world. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here for the hour. We appreciate y'all, and especially the panelists here who are sharing their awesome insights on the future of recruiting from AI to people. So we'll see you next month, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye-bye.